All right, welcome back to Teamology. Thank you for joining us today. And today we've got an incredible guest who is from Pleasanton, California, Tony Arsandi, and he leads the tag group. Tony, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, your team, like kind of where you're headed in your direction that you're going to end up this year?
Appreciate that. Well, number one, thanks for having me on the podcast. A little bit about myself. I've been a full-time agent since 2006. I kind of originally started a partnership with my mom, who retired in 2015. We
Oh, wow.
started real estate at the same time, but she was in the industry for a long time. So again, fast forward 2015. I think that's real. I think that's really where, even though I started in 2006, I feel like that's really where the business side really kind of came to came out, because I actually hired my wife, which
Oh,
is a
wow.
scary thing, but you never, you never know how that's gonna go.
Yeah,
Thankfully, it went amazing, and I have to give her all the credit to where we are today.
right. That's
Um,
awesome.
she is not licensed. She has a strong corporate background.
Okay.
And I basically handed her the $1 million real estate agent book and said, "Here's our business plan. Let's figure it out." And she's like, "There's a book for that? Like that's all it is just this book lays everything out?" Yeah, that's what we got to do. It's a 20-year-old book, and this is all we got to do.
It
Obviously,
still
stuff has
works.
changed since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of like how we got started. Well, let me back up a little bit. We had our first child, and she was getting super stressed out in corporate America. And I had a really good year, and I was like, "Listen, why don't you take like 6 months off? Like we budgeted, take 6 months off, help me out because I need help. I'm like overwhelmed, busy.
Yeah.
And if you like it, cool, stay. If not, you took a 6 month break, and then you could go
Heck
back
yeah.
to what you're doing." And that was like 2016, 17, something like that. And she's been here ever since. So
Right on, man. That's awesome.
yeah,
And it's pretty cool to hear that because I started in '02 and you started in '06, and so we both experienced that crazy market back in '08, '09, and 2010. So that was a big, for me at least, a big learning block as far as markets go and how they can quickly change, right? And
yeah, I actually have a good story about that, because when I started in 2006, I helped out one of my friends. It was about an $800,000 deal, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be rich! One to eight
right.
hundred thousand. This is amazing, right?"
Heck yeah.
And fast forward, the market just tanked, and I was struggling, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. And there was a lender in our office, and he was like, "Hey, man, these people are getting these foreclosure accounts, and I have a connection. You should talk to them." So
Oh, wow.
me and my mom walked in, and we talked to them. Again, fast forward a little bit, like 6 months later, we had like four huge REO foreclosure accounts, and we put all of our eggs in that basket. Like I no longer was helping out friends and family, because all honestly, a lot of them weren't buying or selling at that time because it was a struggle. And we got these huge foreclosure accounts, and what I realized is we just put all in on that. We're getting like 10 listings a month. So
Right.
transactionally, I learned a lot. And I learned a lot on the investment side because we were selling to all investors.
Yeah.
The problem was is I put so much of my eggs in that basket. When they turned off the faucet of foreclosures in 2012, I had nothing. I
Yeah.
had no traditional marketing. I had no, I had to let go all of our field operators, like that would go out and like rekey and like all those things. I had to let go of all those people, and it was really tough. And I'm like, what do I do now? Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. So I genuinely had to reinvent my brand myself, get back into the traditional marketing, reconnect with my spirit. I had to do all the things that I should have never let go of, but I did,
Isn't
because
it
I was like, oh,
crazy?
yeah, Yeah, so it's that's a for me, I will never forget that story, and I talked to my agents on my team about that today, because you should never put your eggs in any basket. Like, there's big Zillow teams, there's big, like, where, they get referrals from one source, and
Yep.
they make so much money on one source, and then what happens is, if for some reason that source goes away, then they're done, right? And you got to
Yeah.
start over. So I train all my agents, like, you need to have three legs of business.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, you need to have your SOI. Like, that is like a no break. That is the lifeblood of your business. Even
Yep.
in slow years or good years, it is just the lifeblood. And then open houses, especially for new agents, like, you got to do, it's a storefront of business. So
Absolutely.
have open houses, and on my team we do Zillow. We're a Zillow Flex team. um,
Okay.
so so I do open houses and Zillow in the same category, because if you think about it, they're very similar people.
Yeah.
An open house person is going to walk into the open house, and you're going to have to try to convert them. Same thing with the Zillow client. They're going to call, and you're going to have to try to convert them and win them over. So to me, it's a same leg. But if you're not a Zillow Flex team or do Zillow, just open houses. And then the third leg should really be something that intrigues you, that you're passionate about. Is it networking? Is it events? Is it farming? Is it something, right? That you, social media, that you like to do. And if you
Yeah.
start with those three as your core building blocks of business, what I've realized is, let's get really good at these three. Once you're really good at these three, then you can add a leg, right? And then
Yep.
your business starts to become more and more stable. So I live by that now. Like, I think that's one of the most important things that you should do is have that core of your business. So
Yeah, and then once you add that fourth leg, it's like a chair, right? Because then it just becomes that much stronger, and now you're sitting there and you're like, this is perfect, right? And then any other leg you add onto it, once you master that fourth one, is like, dude, it's like reinforcements, you know?
100% stronger and stronger chair. Yep.
Absolutely. So now we talked a little bit, and you're actually up year over year, which is awesome. Market in my area a little bit has, we've seen more inventory come on the market, and so what are you tracking? You're tracking to help how many families this year? What's that look like for you?
Um, Sides, I'm gonna just do it by sides. I
Sure.
mean, we're probably gonna land around 130, 140, maybe mid 130s. So it depends. We have a couple of things that are a little wiggly right now,
Sure.
but probably around, hopefully around 135. And our
That's
price point
insane.
went
That's
up.
great.
Yeah, we averaged about $1 million price point. Last year it was more like 900, and we like 117 or something like that. So we're up on units and average price point, which is great. And we honestly, since my wife has joined, we only had one down year, and it wasn't really down because of necessarily sales. It's just we lost two of our agents, the producing agents,
Yeah.
that year. And they moved out, not for any bad reason. They moved to a different state. Um, and we lost that production at a kind of a weird time before we started hiring agents. But since we've been on this roller coaster since my wife has started, like, we year over year, every
That's
single
awesome.
year have improved.
So tell me this. I mean, you kind of you shared your story about the how you got into it and when you were working with your mom and got into the REO side. What take us back, like when you started your team, what was the vision like when you first built it? Was it because millionaire you reference millionaire real estate agent, a lot of times what they talk through on that is building the team because of necessity. What caused you to build your team? What would that look like? What was the vision behind there?
It's weird, and I got into team building for the wrong reasons, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
I
So
did too, bro. So
I
I'm
have
right
to
there with you.
yeah, I have to go backwards a little bit for this to make sense. But my mom was in, like, title, and she used to sell top producer software, which is a CRM software,
Mm-hmm.
and she was a lender, and she did all of these facets of real estate. And then she got in her title job. She ended up going to KW Family Reunion,
Okay.
and she was there trying to like recruit, like get people on her side like title reps do. But anyways, with that, she saw the company and the culture, and she's like, I got to be a part of this company somehow. And at that time, I was a little bit lost. I was a young realtor. I was 24, 23 at the time, and back then, like the average age of an agent was like 55. So I'm like, I never thought I wanted to be a real estate agent, but she's like, I was in sales. I worked at Nordstrom's at the time, going to college, those types
Did
of
you? I did
things. And
too.
I, lo-
I worked at Nordstrom.
yeah,
Sell. I sold women's shoes. They called me
yeah,
out. My buddies called me out Bundy. That was funny.
yeah. Yeah, I was in the men's sportswear department, but honestly, it's all part of my journey,
Yeah.
and what I realized is she brought me in. I talked to a bunch of team leaders, and I was like, oh, this actually, even though I grew up around real estate, I never thought about being a realtor. And when basically when that all kind of came about, I was like, let's do it. I'll get my license. So we got our license at the same time.
Oh wow. Okay.
And yeah, and then that's right when teams were kind of starting, like back in 2006, 2007. You start seeing more partnerships. And she's like, "Let's be a team." And I'm like, "Okay." Like I had no clue. Like, sure, let's
Yeah.
be a
Right
team.
on.
Um, and then the first thing we did, which is one of the biggest mistakes, is the first hire we had was a buyer's agent. Not even
Mm-hmm.
a lot of sales, but hey, let's just hire someone on our team and
Yeah.
let's keep growing as a team and hiring agents. Like that's the thing you're supposed to do, which is the worst thing that you could do. So if there's anything that I can like, you know mention to your people on this podcast is do not do that. Like that
Yeah.
is the wrong way. You need to be busy before you hire anyone, really. Like you need to be
Yeah.
kind of overwhelmed with your own sales. Because if you're only doing 5, 10 sales, like you can manage all of that on your own with the TC, right?
Yep.
But when you start getting into 20, 30 sales, 40 sales, that's a time when you're like, hey, I need some help, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
need other people. But again, it's not a buyer's agent, it's an executive assistant or some
Yep.
kind of assistant to take off some of the workload of marketing, of listing coordination, of those types of things. And that's the biggest mistake people do is they either try to hire buyer's agents and leverage them a little bit, like pay them a little bit to do a little listing coordination, or a little bit like help me show this buyer, I'll pay you, and it just gets very choppy and no one really understands their job and their roles, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, the reason people don't hire executive assistants first is because it feels expensive. If you're like, oh, I got to pay this person 20, 30, whatever dollars an hour, and you're like, I don't want to go there yet because I'm not quite there. But the reality is, if you look at the MREA, the book, Million Dollar Real Estate Agent, is you actually do go, there's a chart where you hit a ceiling. Okay. And when
Mm-hmm.
you hit that ceiling, what you realize is very hard to break through. So when you hire your assistant, you actually go down a little bit because you're training, you're trying to get them all on your systems and everything. Only for once it clicks, then you're going to break through that ceiling, right? You're going to be able to leverage so much more time.
Yeah.
But you can't necessarily do that with buyer's agents and agents just on your team. You're just trying to leverage the wrong things. So, anyways, that's my advice is something like that, like that model. Hire someone that really truly helps you and is in the business first, and
Yep.
then once that starts to get dialed in, then you could hire agents for help. So.
And if you look at it too, is you make the right hire, they should actually build your business 3x, right? It should triple your business. So getting the right person in there could have massive impact on your business.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I do feel like I got a little lucky because my wife is super smart and she was my first executive assistant. Really,
That's a
she's
win.
my yeah, she's my business partner. I pretty much work for her,
Yeah.
um, but I got lucky in that aspect. But it really did teach me a big lesson. And if for any reason she wants to do something else at any point, like I know that I would have to try to now replace her. So.
Yeah. Now, so how many partners do you have on your team?
Um, I have my wife, who's my actual business partner, and we have 12 agents, including myself, and we have 3 staff, including my wife. So we have 15 total.
Okay. So as you grow, right, and it sounds like with the partnership with your wife, and it's been the team's been growing. How do you keep your culture unique? Like what do you look for when you're hiring people?
That man, that is, we've definitely had our own growing pains. We
Yeah.
have a pretty intensive hiring process now. That I kind of, and again, it's had its own kind of workings where it didn't quite work, but we really kind of dialed it in and figured it out. So number one is we have a phone interview with an agent or a staff member that we're hiring, just to
Mm-hmm.
even see if we can connect with them over the phone. Like if you can't even connect with them over the phone, then maybe that just right there is telling, or they're late to the appointment on the phone, or there's little things that you can kind of unpack with just a phone interview.
For sure.
And then you could give them then you give them homework after that and see if they follow that. And part of the homework is we give them 2 assessments, which is a disc test and the what's it called?
KPA.
Elena, what's it called? The KPA, sorry.
Yep.
Whatever. So we give them
We're
the
both K.
KPA for their
We know
job
the KP.
description. Yeah.
We know the
So,
process. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Yeah, so KPA and the disc. And then those come back to us. And then if those kind of hit some of the markers, which honestly usually I tell people like that's not a pass or fail test. One is kind of
Yeah.
personality, one is kind of job. So I still, if I get them there, I'm still going to physically interview them generally, even if they're not, hitting all the markers. And then we have a physical interview or Zoom or whatever. Um and I found that's the best way to start understanding people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 2 agents on my team that are like kind of mentor. They're not kind of, they are our mentors. So then I bring at least one of them in for the final interview, just to get a third person opinion on that interviewer. So I
That's
found that's the
super
best
smart,
way
dude.
to, yeah,
That's
yeah.
super smart
Um,
because then you're having someone else seeing what you're seeing, or seeing blind spots that maybe us as leaders might oh, I didn't even think about that. It's so smart, so smart.
Well, I've been infatuated with some people. I'm like, oh, this person's gonna be a rock star, and then
Yeah.
a couple of my agents are like, I'm getting not the right vibe from them, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, it
Yeah.
seems like they're really cool, and I've hired them, and come to find out, their intuition was correct, right?
Yeah. I've done that too.
Um, an Another thing, I mean, just like there's that saying, hire slow, fire fast. Like I kind of believe that too, because if red flags are popping up in the beginning, like you got to cut that ties, because that ruins the culture of your team. In fact, one of my top salespersons one time, I had to let them go because it was just ruining the culture of my team. I almost lost like half of my team because of this person. And I thought it was just I had to pull the plug, even though at the time I felt like I had a really good relationship with this person. I was just like, it's ruining everything else around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to pull the plug because there's not one, just kind of like in real estate, not one commission makes a career, right? Long
Absolutely.
term referrals and like deals and relationships make a career. Same thing with people on your team. Not one person is going to make your team. It's all of them together. If you truly are building a team, it's all of them together that makes your culture. So
Yeah.
and then lastly, I think something that's very important is people have to buy into your core values. So if you
Mm-hmm.
put your core values in front of people and they're like, I'm not really feeling that, then they're just not a right fit for your team at all.
Yeah.
Period. It's like, don't try to put a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
Like they don't believe in something that you believe firmly that you built your team on, then they're just not a right fit. Period.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's super smart. And I'm sure you probably craft some questions that you ask them to really dig on those values too, right?
Yeah, one question, honestly, and I don't not hire people for this, but one thing I've noticed is as I ask is like, have you ever been on a team,
Yeah.
any team at all, right? And it usually the people that have been on sports teams, any kind of sports teams, even for 1 year, they understand the concept of a team. If they've
Mm-hmm.
been on like actual teams in business, then they understand the concept. If they've never been on a team, I know there's going to be a little bit of a challenge there. It doesn't mean that they're going to be bad. It just means I'm going to have to work more in how they connect and work as a team. So
Yeah.
that's one question that's really popped out for me. And again, I'm not saying I won't hire someone if they haven't, because that's just not a reality. But even one of my main mentors now, and she was with me, she's still with me, but she was with me for like 4 years. And I found some friction in the areas, right? And out of nowhere, I was like, have you ever been on a team? Do you understand kind of what we're doing here? Like, and like how we work together? And she's like, no, I haven't. And I was like, okay, well, maybe you should like look into it and I'll help train you. And like, but a team is truly a team. Like, don't call yourself a team if you're not all trying to work together
Yeah.
for the greater good of the team. So,
Yeah. That's super smart comment. I like that. Yeah, it's definitely important, and going to that piece of making sure, because you got to protect the culture, because once the culture, and I'm sure I'm probably not the only one in this world who's had a culture where it was great, and then a wrong person in that culture could really just bring it down. It's crazy. One person, right?
oh, yeah, one person, it's over.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: if you could fully capitalize on one opportunity in your business right now, which one do you think would unlock the greatest potential for you, for your team?
I mean, one of our pillars is consistency, and I feel like we're very consistent with our clients. But I feel like as agents as a whole, the team, if I was to quantify their consistency in lead generation, it's not consistent. And I'm sure that goes for most teams, but like even just a consistent hour a day or 2 hours a day. I know it sounds very basic, but like how many people are going to be watching this podcast or in your office or in my office that literally do not lead generate every single day? Maybe 1 hour a week, even so.
Right.
And I think that is just such a missing piece, and it's such a simple answer, but it that unlocks everything. It unlocks,
Mm-hmm.
think about when people on your team and they're struggling financially, and then they walk around, they're mopey, like it fixes that, right?
Yep.
It fixes the bills that are stacking up. It fixes that. It fixes like your it helps get to your big why. And even if your big why is charity, it helps you
Yeah.
get to that, right? So
Yeah.
it just unlocks. So your question is like, what helps unlock that? I think that truly is. And I want my goal this year is to have my team more consistent, more deliberate. I had one mentor yesterday say, um, how do you win the day, right? How do you
Mm-hmm.
win the day? And the answer is like usually in the first 90 minutes of the day. And first 90 minutes personal, fitness, first 90 minutes business, lead generation. That's how
Yep.
you win the day. So,
Yeah, I'm on a similar journey with our crew too, right? It's like, hey, what if we got really consistent? What if we didn't pull up our emails instead, and just pulled up where we were going to lead generate at, right? So we don't go down that rabbit hole of getting that email. Or what if we just put away our, didn't look at socials and go down that rabbit hole? There's so many distractions in our world today. It's so easy to get
uh,
distracted. It's built for that, right? So yeah, you do that, dude. That's a winning recipe right there. Just be consistent on your lead
well,
generation.
and that's part of the reason I built a team, if I'm being honest with you, is I saw so much holes in real estate. Like, why are you building a website? Why are you like doing a flyer? and people were struggling with that. So I was like, okay, if I start a team, I'm pretty good at all these things. I could train these things. Maybe I could do that. What if I took all of these things off of my team's plate and all they have to do is lead generate for the most part?
Yeah.
All write contracts, that's all they have to do. We'll do everything else. So I saw a kind of gap there a little bit. And that's primarily what we do. We just take everything off their plate. The struggle is when I take everything off your plate and you're still not doing the thing that makes you the most amount of money, right?
That's
Like,
it.
and I'm sure that's most team leaders struggle, but excuse me.
Yeah,
But
we call
anyways,
that luxury over leverage, right? Either take the leverage and use it towards things that are going to multiply your business, or you take it and just kind of not do anything with it, and that's a big challenge too. So, what's
yep.
uh what's one system, tool, or strategy that you couldn't live without in your team? Curious, what's that look like for you guys? What's been a game changer?
Well, a game changer has been my wife. So again, I'm gonna plug her again.
Yeah,
But
again, again.
but secondly, it's been I think again, some of these sound like basic stuff, but if your viewers and normal real estate agents don't get back to the basics, then they're gonna miss out, right? So it's honestly it's our database. We use Follow Up Boss, but if people use Command or it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you use it. Like you have to use it. And the good databases are really getting efficient. Like they're implementing AI tools into them that have been really helpful to see like what people are interacting with us the most. So we're
Yeah,
reaching out to a lot of them. And again, like I mentioned, AI, like stacking AI on top of that, like has been huge for us. AI recently, I've like kind of had my own mission of making us extremely visible on all the platforms, ChatGPT, like when someone, writes who's the best agent in Pleasanton or Livermore, I want our team to pop up. And we're getting there. We're getting close. And I've learned all that through AI very fast, very efficiently.
yeah,
So I'm kind of big. I remember going to a family reunion, Keller Williams family reunion, their national convention about 5 years ago. And Gary Keller was on stage, and he's like, "We're in the fourth industrial or revolution, AI revolution. There was the industrial revolution, there was this," and he said 5 years ago he said this, right?
that's
It may
insane.
have been
It
longer.
wasn't even on my
Yeah,
radar 5 years ago.
I know it wasn't on anyone's. And honestly, now you see agents using it just for the last year or two,
Yeah,
and really using it to help their business. So I think AI is, I think we're in a little bit of a bubble. I think it'll consolidate a little bit. I think the big players will come to the top, and all these little guys that keep, I think that will be the bubble, the little ones.
sure.
But people are starting to use AI as Google. Like, who's the best agent in this market? Like who has the most sales? Who has the most reviews? What is the best neighborhood in Livermore or Pleasanton?
Yeah,
Like, what is the hottest market in? So AI is going to start, you know, like people would be ignorant to think, agents would be ignorant to think that your clients, when you walk in the door for a listing presentation or a buyer's presentation, that these people are not doing their own homework on AI about commission, about contracts, about what should I expect when an agent comes to my house and does a listing appointment? What are they going to do? What are they going
yeah,
to? What kind of questions are they going to ask? How
so
do I
true.
combat their commission? Right. So I think there's a huge opportunity right now for people to get ahead of that. And even getting ahead of that now is you're far behind. Like
Yeah,
it's hard. It really is hard. But I think you got to start somewhere and just start with ChatGPT and start understanding it, start understanding what the consumer is thinking, and I think you'll be all right.
yeah, I agree, 100%. You get behind on that, you're gonna be behind for a while, right?
Yep.
What would one piece of advice you would have for somebody or a team leader, either already a team leader or someone aspiring to be a team leader that wants to level up to, say, the amount of business you're doing? I mean, you're doing 130 million in volume and 130 transactions. That's awesome. What would that be?
Oh man, there's so much, but I would say
I know
don't
there is.
jump, yeah, like don't jump too soon. Number, let's start from the very bottom, right? Like, first of all, most agents should start on a team because your learning curve will be so much quicker, right?
Hmm.
So if you start on a team and you like the operation side of it, and you like seeing, working in a team environment, learn it for as much long as you can, so you can go start on a team. You hear about people in corporate America that start in the mailroom, right?
Yeah, that's a
So
good
it's
point.
what's the difference? Mailroom to CEO. You could do it, but you have to have a plan. Okay, so that's the small level. Once you get to that point, number one, look at your own business. Are you even busy enough to do this? Have you saved up enough money? Um, have you, is this something you really want to do? Because I'll be honest with you, there's an agent on my team that makes more money than me now.
Yeah.
Like crazy. Like sales is, you can make a lot of money, and she doesn't have any of the headache that I do at all.
You're not
So,
lying, dude.
uh, so again, why are you truly wanting to run a team? Why? Are you a servant leader? Do you does it fill up one of your bucket when in your brain and your body to like come in and mentor and like do this? Are you doing it for your own ego? One of my first coaches has the best line ever, and we like stand by this is your ego is not your amigo. And I think
That's
that's the
so
best
good.
line.
It's so
And
good.
that's one of my favorite lines. And it's kind of part of our culture.
Yeah.
So are you doing it for the wrong reasons? Are you doing it for ego? That's not the reason to be a team leader.
Yeah.
Um, at some point, yes, you can make a really good living. You could have consistency in your income. So, if your team is doing multiple deals, you have a little bit more consistency. But this year, this is probably one of my own personal lowest years because I invest so much into the team. And I love selling. I still love it. I still love my clients, but the team has taken me away a little bit. But I'll never give bad service to my clients. Um, so again, I take what I know I can handle. And so again, now that's my own income kind of going down in some ways. So I think people just have to realize what they're doing it for and ask those questions. Why do I really want to do this? Because you could do your own sales and probably live a big life. Or you can have a proper operations of a team and live a big life, but you also have a lot of people relying on you.
Yeah.
And if
And
you're not built for that, it's a different story. So
you know what's crazy is, as you mentioned earlier, you built it for the wrong reason. When I came into real estate, I don't know why everyone was doing a team, right? It was like
yeah,
2011, 12, and I was like, let's build a team.
uh,
And my purpose was I want to make more money and do less work. Those two do not go hand in hand
yeah,
when you're leading a
no,
team.
no,
No, no. So
yeah,
so and guess what happened? The team struggled. I mean, it just wasn't a culture. There was nothing happening there. And then your second point too is determining if you want to. I have a partner that's been on the team 8 years, and when we first met, he wanted to build a team. And about 2 years into that, he's like, "Man," he goes, "I don't want to do what you do." He goes, "I rather
yeah,
just have the leverage and do this, raise my family, and have a great life." So yeah, so
yep,
so on point.
yep. Yeah, and I'm going through that with the top agent right now on my team. We're opening up kind of like a secondary market. It's not that far from us. It's about, 30, 40 minutes from us. So it's not like a true expansion, but we will have a new office there. And this agent really wants to do this. And I almost tried to talk her out of it. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, and she really
Yeah,
wants to do it. It fills up her bucket and we'll see how it goes. But she wants to build a second part of tag in this market. So it's kind of exciting, and I'm starting to get excited for her now and to see what we could do with it. and it's kind of dipping my foot into expansion a little bit. So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
That's awesome, man. Good for you guys. Good for you. That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you being on the show, taking the time to talk with us. And if someone has a referral or someone has a team or a person who maybe wants to join a team in your area, where do you service, and what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
So my team is based out of the San Francisco East Bay area.
Okay.
And again, the market I was just talking about, we're expanding into the Central Valley. So my primary market is what we call the Tri Valley here, which is Pleasanton, Livermore, Dublin, that area. I grew up in the East Bay, which is Castro Valley, Hayward, Oakland, those types of areas. So our team actually services most of the Bay Area,
Okay.
but primarily Alameda County and Contra Costa County. And then we're going into Stanislaus County for our Central Valley hub. So those are the areas. It's pretty wide net that we cast, but we have a lot of, we have 12 agents and they all are kind of different walks of life and live in different areas. But our primary area is the Tri Valley. So as far as getting a hold of me, I would love for your viewers or anyone to follow us at Sold by Tag, SOLDBYTAG on Instagram and pretty much YouTube, any other socials, we're at Sold by Tag. We would love to follow all your viewers back as well. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of us, but it's also our website too, soldbytag.com.
Oh, perfect.
So
That's awesome. Tony, I appreciate you taking the time today. I know you're a busy guy and appreciate you and just learning and hearing your story is really cool. And I do these, it's kind of almost a little bit selfish because I get to hear awesome people like yourself. So appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for today.
yeah, this has been awesome. Like I look forward to seeing a lot more of these interviews on your podcast. And again, thanks for letting me be a part of it. And I look forward to networking with you as well.
Yeah, likewise. All right, buddy. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good one.